Okay. I'll put the more C-SPAN sign and the number of
Alright, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Okay. Public hearing is on local law 2016, chapter 169 for vehicles and traffic. The village clerk put notice on September 22nd, that would be tonight at 7 o'clock. The law is making changes to the speed limit in the village, that will be 25 miles per hour from 30. It lists all the stop signs that we have in the village currently. And it also increases the penalties for both parking and stop, if you're, stop signs. And then we had some changes from code, which will be added in, where permits were required for vehicles, I forgot what they were. They were for pleasure vehicles down in, it was just California Beach, or on all roads, right? And so this is basically the law, and we're taking public comments at this time. Anybody have any comments? Steve?
Public comment can be about anything that's on the agenda?
About the local law. About the law.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's a public hearing about this law, so we're taking comments for that.
I'm a little confused because on the agenda, it says resolutions and then it goes from 4 to 14.
Okay. I can look at that when we get to the business meeting.
Okay,
right
so
now we're just taking
so
comments on
specific
the
to the
local
local
law.
law.
Okay.
That's why I asked.
So I was curious about the
So you have to
two,
stand up, say your name, your address.
Diana Padilla, 61 Washington Street. I was curious about the two stop signs that have already been installed on Washington Street, and I was wondering what was the impetus for those, and
To slow down the traffic on Washington, which it seems to be working, so they've been added into the new law.
okay, so so my understanding from the last time I was here was that they monitored speeding and that the speeding on Washington was all on the upper side of Washington from 25A to Bridgewood. That was the report that we received, is that the speeding is on that upper part of Washington. And so it is curious to me why those stop signs were put where they are. And especially, they're going to make it, the one going up the hill, it's going to make it extremely difficult in the winter to go from a dead stop around that curve and up that hill. And those of us who live below that are going to be challenged by being stuck behind school buses that aren't going to be able to make it up that hill, because having to come from a dead stop to go around that curve and up that steep part of the hill is going to be extremely difficult.
I don't think so.
I just would like to respond that John isn't here. But John lives on Washington, and he was the person who really actually ran on the position that he wanted to do something about this meeting, because he lives right at that part of the road. And he had made the point that, surprisingly, when he was out there, he was actually monitoring with Suffolk County?
No, with Frank.
Okay, with Frank, monitoring the speed. The speeders actually were the ones going uphill.
But that report that we had was that the speeding was that very, less than half the cars are speeding. It was a small percentage of cars were speeding. And of the cars that were speeding, they were speeding on the upper quarter of the
That's how
road.
John said.
That was our report.
Yeah, just because of that curve, that kind of, and how narrow
Yes.
that roadway is, coming around that area at that intersection, at the speed limit currently permitted by the village, it's too high.
But that's not,
So it's not speeding, it's not necessarily the speeding, but because of that curve and the narrowness of the roadway, that was one of the reasons.
that is a different issue. It's not because people are speeding on that section of the road. Is it because?
Not speeding in the definition of exceeding the speed limit, but traveling at a rate that is too high for that
Because
portion of the roadway.
exceeding the speed limit was on the upper portion, so why aren't there more stop signs on Washington in that upper portion of Washington where there is speeding as opposed to the lower portion of Washington? Because the recommendation earlier is he wanted a speed bump and then the stop sign showed up, and then there was a request that we make it 25 miles an hour in front of his house to slow people down.
Not in front of his house, in front of the entire, it's in the entire village.
That's what this proposal was. I'm talking about the comments
I
in the
can
last
say
meeting.
that the stop sign's there, I've stopped at them now, and it's good because people weren't stopping at them. You can't see, when you're at the corner of Washington and Walnut, the trees are overgrown down in there, you can't see, so you have to stop and come out slowly. And I think they're working, and they're in the law, we added them to this. Why don't we have it on top? I don't know, maybe we should look into that and add some more.
From someone who has to deal with this all the time, dealing with it in the wintertime, I believe that it's gonna cause a serious traffic issue in the winter. Because it's hard to make it up that hill as it is when we have a snowfall.
Did we ask any, I'm sorry,
Did you?
Frank, did we ask bus companies, Suffolk County Department of Public Works or the police?
I wasn't involved in that portion,
Because to me too, I know like the hill over on White Pine, that smaller hill, in the winter, you take your life in your hand. And if a bus stops on the road right in the middle there, I can see it just sliding backwards and across the lanes.
It's just very difficult to make that kind of a hill from a dead stop.
So we don't know if that was looked into at all.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't. Okay. Do you think we should do it before we keep that stop sign there? Is that a prudent thing to do?
Sure.
Alicia Chilek, I live right by that stop sign. For the people that stop, it does slow down the traffic, but I can tell you, I look out my window every day, and there are a lot of people that still don't stop at all.
They don't stop at the ones on State
No, I
Street
know,
either.
I'm just they're saying that they don't stop. So it didn't really.
The second
For the
issue
people
was-
that do stop, it works.
The
but-
second issue why the stop signs were put there was because people coming down Walnut or Cedar actually didn't stop. They just drove right on out, and you can't see them and they can't see you. So we had a couple close misses right there in the last few months over the summer, and that was,
Well, I beg to
Correct
differ
that.
with you on that, Harry. I live right there and I watch you have to stop if you're making a right on Walnut.
I'm telling you, they don't.
I live there.
You live there. That doesn't mean you see every car that comes down.
And neither do you.
No, but I'm not gonna argue with you.
Thank you for your comment.
Nobody can say that everybody's going to go out by the speed limits and the stop signs and whatever. We were faced with a problem that pretty much everybody agreed with, which is that the speed limit of 30 miles an hour was too fast for the village because of the hills and the curves. So we considered a number of alternatives, including the speed bumps and what are the pros and cons with the snow plowing and so on and so on. And this seemed to be the best way to try it out. If you recall, the conversation was, well, let's try it out, because none of us are able to see in the future and say, this is a surefire way that's going to solve the problem. The stop signs are in. They seem to be working for the most part. Yes, there's going to be people who ignore them. But from my casual observation, I see a decrease in the speeds. If it turns out that this becomes a nightmare in the wintertime, that there are issues with an increase in accidents, or I don't know what, we can always look at it again. But this was the first, best, easiest attempt to address a problem that everybody agreed needed to be addressed. So I think that while I appreciate your suggestion that you think that this is going to create problems in the snowstorm, I would like to wait and see, and then we'll address it after the winter.
Any other comments?
Lisa Thayer, 12 Washington Street. I sit down and read out and look outside my front window, and I see nothing but speeders racing up and down in front of our property. And I see a lot of cars stopping, at least one a day, for a matter of minutes. Whether they're on the phone or they're waiting for someone to pick up, I don't know, but they're there. And coming into Washington Street and out is very dangerous. Around the curve that's down by Harrison, I almost got ran over. I was on the Luco side. I don't know if you've ever tested the speeds there, but they're not 25, they're not 30, they're more like 45, 50. And that is very dangerous. And on that turn too, if we can cut back some of that brush, they'll be able to see us who are walking the dogs or whatever. I mean, they need to also see us before they mow us over.
Thank you. Any other comments? Carol?
Carol, Carol Pesic, Chestnut, just a question. You're raising the parking fines, the speeding fines, the stop sign fines.
Yeah.
We don't have authority, do we, at this time to enforce the stop signs and the speeding?
No, but Suffolk County Police Department does.
So, this is my curiosity, when we raise that fine, does this count, or whoever's gonna collect the fine, do we get that money back when they give the fine here?
Yes.
So if I go through the stop sign, the cop tickets me?
If the Suffolk County Police Department writes your ticket into this court, I believe so, yes.
Do they write the tickets into this court, or do they
Yes.
just write them into the county?
No, this court.
Okay. Thank you.
John?
John Lane, Van Brunt Manor. I echo that same comment. Are you going to post new speed limit signs?
Yes.
A number of them?
Yes, I don't know if you were here earlier, one of the things that the sign commissioner had asked for, if we approve this, is to get new signs printed.
Well, as you've just heard, our code enforcement officers cannot enforce the speed limit. So how often are Suffolk County Police patrol cars going to be in here to do
And as
that?
often as we let.
Yes, so it probably is not going to have any effect at all. And I echo the speed limit, or rather the speeders who go by my house. It's extremely bad, and I don't think that reducing the speed limit without a serious enforcement effort is going to be successful.
Okay, thank you.
Uh,
Just a question, not a comment. Bill Poquott, 18 Walnut. And I missed it and I apologize. Was there a reason why speed bumps were not looked at, or they were and voted against? Because it seems like a speed bump would be a good deterrent, and it would also keep people from having to come to a full stop. And not that I'm against the stop signs. I got four-wheel drive, I'm fine. But there are people, and I see it every winter, you get it out of the car, you're helping them push and all this stuff. But again, my question, speed bumps, just, we don't want to talk about them, or?
What?
Well, I'm speaking for John really, because it's been his framework. Speed bumps are not without their own problems in the wintertime. And the concern was that they would affect
Yeah, the plows, I get all that, yeah.
And so, I'll just reiterate, this is the best, easiest first step. And I agree with you that there are other options, such as speed bumps, that might better be served along the straightaway at the higher part of Washington.
Right.
That would certainly be better than a stop sign in the middle of nothing. We can't have that, but we can always do that. And, you know, we're not going to be able to solve this problem because, as Mr. Lane just pointed out, it's pretty much throughout the village. It's not just Washington Street. I've seen people peeling up the beach from Walnut. I couldn't believe it. They're just getting, room.
The thing you have to be careful about is the speed limit's 30. I'd be afraid to drive 30 around the neighborhood.
Right.
So when I'm out walking and I see a car moving fast, my first instinct is, why is he going so fast? Well, because he's going up to 30 miles an hour, which he's allowed to. So I think the 25 mile an hour is a good step.
It can't hurt, other than the
It's a
fact
good
that
chicken soup recipe, I
you
get it.
do have
Good.
to pay for new signs. And a certain number of people are going to follow the speed limit, and certain aren't. And clearly, enforcement is something that still needs to be looked at, because our guys can't really do it. Possibility of other things such as speed bumps.
So I guess the answer to my question is the snow plows were the issue. It makes sense.
In the short run.
Makes sense.
But we haven't ruled it out.
Right, okay.
We haven't ruled it out. And I personally think that speed bumps are a good thing for a straightaway,
Yeah.
especially at the top of Washington Street. you know. John also does plowing, I think, or Harry used to plow. And they said that if with proper signs and things, plow
Yeah,
operators,
they're all over.
they can do
Sure.
that.
What about those rivets? I'm not sure what it is, but in the pavement, it's like lines, and when you go over them, they make that sound?
Yes, it's actually, they sit down there and they have a machine that punches a hole in the blacktop.
Right,
So it's like before the toll booths and whatnot,
right.
yeah.
Or even one of those signs that show how many miles you're going and have a photo to where it takes of the cars that are speeding.
That's done by radar, I don't know if that would be legal.
I mean, because this
For
is
us
the
to do that.
entrance into Poquott, it should be a statement. It should be quite a statement for the people entering to Poquott. This is the way it is.
Is there a sign like, please slow down, something nice?
Well, there's a sign with a little
Do we have, what do we have there? Do we have anything regarding, it's just a speed limit, right?
Just as.
Well, sign saying the rules, but the speed limit's on there. You know,
No, you know, welcome to the village, please slow down, watch the children, something like that.
You have that.
When the kids are drinking down the beach and they come flying up, they're drunk, they're not worried about the signs.
Let me tell you something, I saw somebody blast through the high view with the new sign the other day, and I don't know if they were from the village or what, but in a white Mercedes the other day, the guy pushing a baby, right at High View in Van Brunt, didn't even slow down, doing about 30, going through Van Brunt at High View, and just going right through, not even slowing down. And I just hope it wasn't one of our villages.
Anyway, it's a, you know, this is a big problem,
Yeah,
not
but
just
where's the liability? Is it on Poquott if someone should get injured or God forbid killed? I mean, how does that go with our lack of deterrence?
Well, we're not doing anything, I'm not sure what you mean, like a deterrent.
Well, you know, obviously there's still speeding throughout Poquott. You know, there's got to be some more that we can do.
The law does not allow our safety officers to do certain things. They don't have
I
police
have
officer
that,
status.
I have that.
Okay, so we're limited, it's a kind of a catch-22, that Suffolk County Police don't really come into our village that much because we have our own safety department. So, you know, we lose on both ends in that. We have our own guys doing other things, but they can't enforce the speed limit, and then Suffolk County won't send their guys in here because we have our own guys.
You gotta make sure, Suffolk PD would have had been right there too, in order to
Yeah,
nail this.
they're not here all
It's
the
not
time.
like-
They cover a lot of territory.
I have two comments. One,
name, address.
Joe Bolsey, 53 Chestnut. One is, you have these signs that say how fast you're going. I've seen them where it says, too fast, lights up too fast, and it works. Another one, this is a great one, because we can do anything. Stop sign, you put please on top, please, and it works every time.
It works.
From my experience, and I've studied this a lot, as much as anybody.
Please stop.
Thank you.
Is that in book, is that pre-made sign?
No.
Solar.
We're not regular stop signs here.
No, something like that is doable. You know, when you get into these radar-controlled things, Joe, it becomes prohibitively expensive.
You
I
stop
mean,
at
everything gets down to money eventually, but.
So what?
When you're talking 2 grand, now you're talking
So what?
maintenance.
Yeah, we're
You're
talking about
another
lights.
animal.
Your pet gets run over.
Jeff, what are you talking about with
You
this?
have to say your name and
I'm sorry,
address.
Pablo PTO, Silver Beach Court. Jeff, what you're talking about, there's a company actually in Colorado that actually does all the ones up on 347. And basically the way it works is they can actually set cameras where they actually install them for you. And what happens is when somebody breaks the law, it's sent to the village. And they send you a picture of the car. They get half of the money, the company in Colorado, and the village gets the other half of the money. and they actually will install these cameras on these streets.
I'm not sure that that's legal.
We
And I'm
can't
not sure,
enforce
this is
it.
an issue.
Yeah,
This
I
is
like
only
to
taking
think.
time.
I don't know, yeah, like I said, I don't know if we can or not, if we can enforce that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the logistics is to it, but I know that they will actually come in, because that's what the state's doing, that's what the schools are doing now. Because they're installing them for the schools in front, because they have a 20-mile-an-hour zone, and they're installing them at the schools, and the schools are getting half of the money that they're actually collecting.
You know,
Yeah, oh, yeah, well,
Can you
the ones
say
on
that-
yeah, the ones on 347 and all that other
Yeah,
stuff.
you can't
Opposed to the fact that it's under
address
camera
us, Bob.
surveillance. That's
I'm sorry?
why I felt
You have to
so
address us,
honest,
Bill.
because they did put out.
Yeah, so I mean, it might be something to look into. I know there's like 2 companies in the whole country that actually do these red light cameras. And I'm sure they can set it up also for the stop signs where, because I know with a lot of the red light cameras, when you're going to make a right-hand turn, you have to wait 4 seconds before you can actually make that right on red. And if you don't, it actually flashes the license plate. So if you're not stopping for 4 seconds at a stop sign, I'm sure that there's a way that they can actually do that where they can actually send you pictures of these cars. And if they are residents, even yet, send a letter to them, say, listen, please stop at the signs.
Any other comments? I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn this meeting to November 10th at 7 PM. That way we can add in your comment, your changes to the law, and then look into any of the other ideas that we got from these comments.
Bob, can you send that over to us? Do you have
Do you have a
the other
second?
copy?
Second.
Okay. November 10th, the next meeting. November 10th, 7 o'clock. So we'll end up having 2 public hearings that day. Okay. So we're definitely have to change the round. All right, I call the business meeting to order. It's 7:45. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess my only announcement would be that your votes have to be off the DTs by December 1st. Frank, do you have a report?
Sandy's.
Okay. Walter. We did read our check.
That was the last meeting.
Yeah, that was.
That was last
All right. The last 30 days, 2 EMS calls, 1 fire alarm, 1 burglar alarm, 5 disturbances, 2 parking complaints, 4 miscellaneous information. Parking warnings issued were 17, tickets issued were 16, courtesy house checks 8, quality of life 1, stormwater violations 2, and special parking requests 125.
Joe, did you have something to treasure?
Yes.
Unless you had a meeting for Jeff tonight.
Yes. Okay, treasurer's report as of September 30, 2016. Cash balance of Suffolk County National Bank checking account $7,217.83. Suffolk County National Bank tax collections $369,673.19. Petty cash clerk's office $150. Petty cash justice court clerk $150. Suffolk County National Bank grant fund $1,900.10. Our investments right now, we have the building department bond, $500, Suffolk County National Bank. General class investment account is general class investment account, $72.59. Trust and agency account with Suffolk County National Bank is $300. Total cash and investments, $379,963.71.
Did John read it? John, do you want to do the report or you want Joe to read it?
Well, I don't mind if you do it.
Joe read it.
There's
Okay.
only one really significant section of it.
I'll read it for you, John, you get it first. Report from the Harbor Commission representative, October 13, 2016. 1, a meeting of the commission was held on September 21st, town of Brookhaven Annex in Port Jeff.
James Dunn, interim harbor master, presiding in the absence of Peter Katrakis. 2, all members present except the town's representative would retire from the town. 3, several varied incidents of voters in trouble with minor injuries handled by EHM. 4, one channel marker in Pirates Cove warning marker were replaced. 5, one oyster harvester was caught with 850 lobsters, of which 20% was seed size and returned to their bed of origin. 6, 2 water skiers were issued summons for lack of safe boating certificates. 7, Operation Shield forwarded 2 foreign vessels, inspected 8 vessels for safety equipment. 8, the southern pole of the 2-pole light range has been installed, the other one will be erected soon. Personnel developments. Peter Katrakis, the harbor master, has retired for medical reasons. James Dunn, the interim harbor master, will also retire at the end of October. There appears to be no action by the town to install replacements, so the commission will not meet again until one is appointed. Number 10, the commission has received a request from George Hoffman, leader of Secaucus Harbor Task Force, to make a presentation to the commission on subject, having the commission take an interest in the ecological and environmental health and activities of Port Jeff Harbor. That's the report from Harbor Task Force.
May I add 2 items?
Sure.
2 further explanations. The commission expressed great disappointment in the town's action or lack of action in not designating or making any moves to hire a new harbor master. And that's why the commission will not meet again until there is a harbor master. We feel extremely, it is extremely important to have a harbor master to supervise the boating activities in the harbor and to uphold the laws of boating activities there. So that there'll be no further commission activity until that's rectified.
Are they expecting to do that before the spring?
There's no information about that.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons that we're very disappointed. No information at all. We may be able to get some movement from Councilwoman Cartwright, but that's unknown. In addition, the commission is not going to pursue the subject that George Hoffman presented concerning the ecological and environmental factors at this time, until we get a new harbor master.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes?
Would a letter from us, as well as the other villages, an official letter on stationery signed by the mayor, expressing, unhappiness with the current state of affairs?
We're gonna need a harbor master. when the
Yes,
spring comes.
I think that would help, and we might be able to get one or more of the other villages to do the same thing. Oldfield, Belterre, and Port Jefferson, probably sent to the supervisor, so that we might get some faster action that way.
John, I have a question. What's a foreign boat that was pulled over?
It is
What
a
does that
vessel who's registered in a foreign country, does not fly the American flag as registry. And Port Jefferson is a port of entry, international port of entry into the United States, and it must clear customs and immigration when arriving in this port.
Like a sailboat or a tanker?
Any vessel.
Any vessel?
Any vessel.
Okay.
That is not an American registered vessel.
They have to register, okay.
Yeah. Carol's gonna- No, one time, okay, before we start public comments, I just want to discuss, I apologize to the Ballsy family. I know that we had said that we would put the fire pit on the working meeting. It's not intentional to be left off there. It was just one of the items of, I had so many, it slipped my mind.
I have a comment there.
Go ahead.
This letter was sent by the Ballsys to the board and the mayor. We're property owners of 49 and 53 Chestnut. Our property borders the Village California Park. Our family has owned and been living on this property for 5 generations. The recent installation of a fire pit in the park has been in such close proximity to our homes and has eroded our quality of life and negatively affected our health. My wife's in a hospital. This added noise and disturbance just feet from our property is affecting the health, happiness, sleep, well-being, and property values. The unregulated burning of wood is causing noxious smoke to draft into our properties. The situation is both unhealthy and is beyond a nuisance. We have voiced our opinion in a public forum before and after the installation, and expressed our objection on the many occasions. The smoke is contrary to the traditional uses of the park. It creates regular nocturnal activity in a public park that traditionally closed at dark. Encouraging the people to gather and create smoke and noise disturbances that often last late into the night, always spanning hours that code enforcement's no longer on duty. This incongruous experiment should be terminated. The recent installation of the fire pit in the California park directly violates a minimum of 3 village codes. Code 57.1, fire, Section 9.2.1, noise created by revelers, and Section 999.1, nuisance. Each one of these violations merits the removal of the fire pit. I hope the village recognizes the law and applies to all and removes this attractive nuisance. Thank you for your vigilance in ensuring that all members of the community are heard and their rights upheld. We trust you will assist us in removing this burden to the quiet enjoyment of our homes. The interesting thing is this letter was sent to you guys and you didn't pick it up because it was a registered letter and we didn't get a return receipt. That is interesting. Really. Thank you.
Just sent by email. Joe signed for it.
I signed for that, Joe.
Oh, today, okay.
No, I signed for it, yeah.
I picked it up like
Today.
last week, didn't I?
Yeah, last week. I don't know why you didn't get the receipt back.
So, we want to open discussion of the fire pit. I've only been out there 2 nights, and the 2 nights I was out there, I did walk onto your side of the property, and I didn't see any smoke but I don't live there. I'm just the side of where I was standing, I didn't see any smoke. I didn't know if the smoke was just the week that we had those heavy winds, if it's constant. I know that we put an ordinance in that they had to be out by 11 o'clock. The 2 nights I was there, it was out by 11 o'clock. I can't speak for the other nights, I know you're out
They
there.
have been out by 11 o'clock every night. The music was turned off before 11 o'clock. And the fire is not an open fire. It's contained, it's in a stone pit, it's got a screen over the top, there's water there.
I went there one morning and it was still burning.
Absolutely impossible.
Well, there was no hose, and I'm telling you, I went and got a hose and put it out.
Yeah, you want to comment?
I did. Joe, I appreciated your suggestion that maybe an alternate fuel would be a way to resolve this. I'm not sure that propane or another gas would be feasible. But one thing that bothers me about that is that there's a very unattractive pile of wood that is, from an aesthetic standpoint, is offensive.
That's another code.
And it also kind of beckons people who didn't go there with the express purpose of